Hello, welcome to Math 14 Statistical Methods for Fall 2023. The purpose of this video is to go over the basics of how to work with Canvas, or at least the parts of it that we will need, and then also to go over the syllabus and all of that. So first thing will be to take a look at Canvas. I'm assuming you probably have used Canvas before, but just in case you have not, some of the more important features, if you look down the left side, what's showing on my screen at least is a red strip. Under account, that's how you log out. If you need that. To select between your different courses, you can click on courses. Other than that, there's not a lot that you need. In the second column, there's more things to do. Modules, that will be actually what's showing in the center of the screen now, so you won't really need to click on modules very often. Discussions, our course doesn't have required discussion forums, but if you want to check that out, you can. It's an optional feature if you wish to communicate with me or your classmates through discussion. You can do that, but there's no required element there. Other than that, there's nothing else that you have to use in this second column. Okay, the main thing really is just the home, which is, there we go, going to be also the same as the module page, and that's really all that you need. Okay, the center part is going to be the part where we do pay most of our attention. The first block is the syllabus and getting started, which we'll look at in a minute. There's a section of helpful information, a little bit about my office hours, and then we have some actual content for chapters 1 through 3, which is posted. One thing that you will notice on Canvas is that whenever you see this little triangle in a block like this, it's pointed to the right. That means that it's a block that can open or expand downward. So if I click on a little triangle here, you'll see that a bunch of stuff appears below here where it says syllabus and getting started. And you'll also see now that the triangle is pointing downward. So let's close it back up again. Close, triangle points to the right, and open, triangle points downward, and there's a bunch of stuff underneath. Okay, so in this syllabus and getting started block, there's the introduction, start here. This is the video you're watching right now. The syllabus, we'll be taking a look at that in a minute. There's a video on the introduction to My Math Lab, which is the software that we'll use to get all of our homework and other work done in this course. The video mentions a different course code. The course code you want to use is right here, Kleinfelter 98259. That's current for this semester. Down here, My Math Lab registration instructions. That's a PDF that gives you instructions on how to register for My Math Lab. Right. One other thing that is helpful to know is if you take a look at the icons to the left of the screen here, things that look like little chain links are links to usually external sites. And things that look like paper clips are attachments. Typically in our class, they're going to be PDF files. So a link or a PDF, so you know what you're looking at. Here where it says course ID, that's just text. There's nothing clickable right there. Okay, so in a minute, we're going to look at the syllabus after I finish showing you the parts of Canvas that we're going to need. So let me close up that for right now. Taking a look at helpful information, you can see that most of these are paper clips, so they're documents. The last two things are links. Frequently, people have a tough time in math due to test anxiety or just not liking math and not knowing how to really approach it. And that's true of statistics also. So some handouts here to hopefully help you with those things, with test anxiety or just how to prepare for tests, things of that sort. Take a look at those handouts. Let me know if you find any of it especially helpful or anti-helpful. If it made things worse, let me know. I definitely don't want to do that. The last two things are how to make our links to videos and how to make a practice test and how to use a practice test. They're oriented towards math in general, but they apply to our course as well. So some helpful information. Okay, office hours, I'll talk about office hours more in a minute when we do the syllabus part, but this being an online class, I do have some office hours online. Those will be on Fridays from 10, that's not actually correct. I need to fix that. That is going to be 11 to 12. So let me fix that. All right, so that's better. Friday is 11 to 12. You can also always email me if you have a question or if you need other help, and I'll talk about my other office hours when we get to the syllabus. But for now, if you want to access the online office hours, they're through Zoom, and you click that link to start it. Okay, there may be occasions where I do need to move my office hours, and if so, I'll let you know. Okay, the content for the course will appear following that. So far, under lectures and notes for chapters 1 through 3, you'll see that appearing here. The first chapter only has 3 sections in it, and so all of it is right here. The first thing is going to be, see the paperclip, it's a PDF document. It has the notes for sections 1.1 and 1.2, and then following that are links to 2 videos that cover that content. And then for section 1.3, very similar, we have notes and then a lecture for that. So depending on how works best for you, some people like to read through the notes, then watch the videos. Some people like to just go straight to the videos. Some people do both. Unfortunately, some people do neither. I can't recommend that, however. So take a look at those things. One thing that's nice about the videos is, as with anything pre-recorded, is you can always speed it up or slow it down and rewind it as needed. So that's nice. All right, so the content for the course will appear right here. Right now, I've just got the first first chapter's worth of material appearing here. But of course, more will appear soon. All right, so that is basically everything that you're going to need Canvas for, is to get on here, watch the videos for the course, and read through the notes. And then the other documentation appears here and then in the helpful information section. All right, so let's take a look next at the syllabus. So that is right here. I'm the instructor, Dan Kleinfelter. My email is here as shown, dkleinfelter@collegeofthedesert.edu. If you do email me, it will be helpful if you put your name in the body of the email somewhere, and also let me know that you're in statistics in case it's not obvious, because I do have a couple of other courses at COD this semester, so best to let me know. I have an office on the Palm Desert campus in room MSTC 246E. I have office hours there on Mondays and Tuesdays, 12:30 to 2, and then on Thursdays, 1:30 to 2:30 in the same place. And then again, Fridays, 11 to 12 on Zoom. Okay, and then as a reminder, the link for that is going to be on Canvas. Okay, content of the course, you can read through that. That may not make a whole lot of sense to you, and that's okay because you haven't taken the course yet. But basically, statistics, or our course, is divided into 2 parts. There's what's called descriptive statistics, and there's inferential statistics. The descriptive statistics part, as the name implies, has to do with how we can use tools to describe data. Some of it is graphical, and that involves doing things like making bar charts and histograms and scatter plots and things like that, pictorial representations of data, and using that to describe the data. And then the other part is using numerical measures to describe data, and there your experience may be with things like averages. Everybody in their classes are interested in what their average or their test grades are. Averages, means, medians, modes, the standard deviation, the range, other measures, numerical ways of describing data. That's kind of the first half of our course. How can you describe data either using graphical means or numerically? The other half, inferential statistics, is about how you can use the tools and techniques we learn in the class to make inferences or guesses about unknown values from a set of data. Without going too much into more detail, that's basically how that goes. All right, so read through that. By the end of the semester, you're going to know what probably almost all of these things are. So prerequisites for the course typically are C or higher in intermediate algebra. COD kind of has 3 different intermediate algebra courses, or did, and so any of these will do. If you have a question over whether you meet the prerequisite, let me know. Send me an email or come to office hours and we can talk about it. There's an advisory of English 71. Of course, we're not going to read and write essays here or anything of that sort, but as you'll see, a lot of statistics involves explaining, and you have to read through the notes and understand the notes as they are written. We have a lot of story problems that you need to be able to read, and so that's what that advisory or recommendation is about. If you're concerned about the amount of algebra you need, what kinds of things do you need to know? It'll be helpful to be able to graph a line and know about what the slope of a line means and what the y-intercept means. Most of the algebra that you're going to need is how to take a formula. If you have a formula for something, like you've used probably the quadratic formula before, if you have a formula for something and you either know or figure out or look up in the table some numbers, can you take those numbers, plug them into the formula, and calculate and get an answer out of it? That's a lot of what we really need in this course. Like I said, though, if you have a concern over whether you meet the prerequisites or not, let me know. We can talk about your background and go from there. The format for the course is what's called asynchronous, meaning that there's no set meeting times, there's no live lectures. As I'd mentioned, our videos, our lectures are pre-recorded on video and you can watch them at your convenience. There's some advantage and some disadvantage to the format. Of course, I like it because the advantages are that you can watch it at your convenience. If you work all day and don't have time to do schoolwork until like 10 p.m., then that works, right? You don't have to be at a specific place at a specific time. Another advantage is that if you miss something with the videos, you can always rewind, watch something over again if you need to a couple times. You can slow down the video if it gets to going too fast. All of those things are advantages. Disadvantages are that if you're sitting and learning the material, you can't raise your hand and ask a question right then. You can't really listen to other people's questions live, and you don't have that kind of live in-classroom experience. So there's, like a lot of things in life, there's advantages and disadvantages. The lectures then are, as I'd said, pre-recorded. There's no live lectures. Of course, office hours are live and on Zoom or in person if you do decide to come to the Palm Desert campus. Time commitment for the course. Most people past experiences that they usually spend about 8 hours per week on class, aside from the time spent in lectures. So the time spent in watching the lecture videos would be basically like the time you'd spend in class if this were an in-person class. So that's the videos kind of take the place of that. The additional time that is mentioned here is the time spent reading the textbook or studying or doing assignments and preparing for exams, that sort of thing. The 8 hours is a rough guideline. You're going to find that that time fluctuates probably quite a bit, depending on a couple things, depending on your background. If your last math class was 8 years ago in high school, then you took like a general math class, not an algebra class, you're going to have a harder time with this potentially and maybe need to spend a little more time with it. On the other hand, perhaps you just graduated high school last semester, maybe you're still in high school. I think there's one person who's in high school now. And so you have really current, recent knowledge with algebra. And if so, then you may find that a little bit easier for you. Again, it just depends. It depends on the person, what their background is like, their recency in math. Maybe you took this class last semester and like didn't quite pass it, but almost did. And so you know a lot of this stuff already, but are missing some crucial pieces, let's say. So it's going to depend. It also depends on what parts of the class we are in. The first chapter and a half, 2 chapters, first chapter really, is about a lot of vocabulary, which is kind of tedious, but there's not really any calculation in it. Chapter 2 is usually pretty straightforward for people, although there are a couple of tricky things, but it is more math-like, more kind of calculations. Chapters 3 and 4 get to be harder and involve more calculation and more reasoning through things. Chapter 6 and beyond typically take people more time and effort. So if you jump into the class and you find that it's like super easy to begin with, you'll probably find that it gets harder later on. So just kind of keep that in mind. The takeaway, I guess, is that if you find yourself spending basically no time on the class and not getting the grades you want, then you should either allocate more time to the class or come see me or talk to me and we can help straighten that out. At the other end, if you find that you're spending like 20 hours a week on this, you're living and breathing statistics and it's still not working out for you, then again, you should contact me and we'll figure out what to do. But the 8 hours a week is usually pretty typical for people. There's one required book, the 13th edition of Elementary Statistics with MyMathLab Access by Triola. The main thing that you're going to need is the MyMathLab Access, because that's the software that we use to get all of our coursework done. Whether you have the actual physical textbook or not, completely up to you. And I'll never know. So it's totally up to you whether you buy the physical book or not. You can always, sorry, 1 second, the cat jumped on my desk. Sorry about that. All right, so anyhow, MyMathLab Access, you can purchase that either directly from the publisher or through our bookstore. And the introduction to MyMathLab video on Canvas will tell you more about that. Again, you don't have to have the actual physical textbook. It's totally up to you whether you have that. And if you have an older edition of it, or really any other statistics book, that's actually also okay. You need to get the MyMathLab Access, though. One thing that is kind of nice is that, again, this will be in the MyMathLab video. One thing is kind of nice is that you can use, have a 10 or 14-day temporary access to try it out, see if you like it, see if you're going to stick with the class without having to pay money for it. So there's that. Grading for the course, we'll have 3 exams worth 15% of your grade each, so that totals 45% of your grade. Homework and quizzes are 20% and 12% respectively, and then participation 3%, and then a final at the end of the semester worth 20% of your grade. A little bit more about exams. Exams will be scheduled in advance and will probably be on Thursday mornings. That is the plan. If something changes, I will let you know. I'll let you know in advance anyways when the exams will occur. I typically have the exams available from 8 a.m. to noon, and then that's 4 hours. That's 12 noon, not midnight. And then I usually set a 90-minute time limit for the test within that window. So you can take the test from like 8 to 9:30 or 8:15 to 9:45 or 10 to 11:30, anytime within that window. However, the test will shut off at 12. So if you start the test at 11:30, you're only going to get a half an hour. Okay, so make sure that you start by like 10:30 in order to get the whole test taken. If morning times don't work for you for whatever reason, work or family or otherwise, let me know. Send me an email and we'll figure something out. But you do need to request it no later than the day before. So ideally don't email me in a panic the morning of the test telling me that you can't take it right then. Day before, please. Testing. Tests will not appear on MyMathLab until the test is available to be taken. You'll see when you create your MyMathLab account that there's not really much in the way of assignments there because we're just kind of getting started here. You won't see tests on there until the test is available, just like you don't see Chapter 8 on there or anything else. Once the test is available, you'll see it there. Okay, our final exam will be on Thursday, December 14th. Again, I'll have a 4-hour time window for you. For the final, you'll get 2 hours to complete the test rather than an hour and a half. There's no makeups for missed work, so make sure to keep track of due dates. You may want to get a separate calendar or something for the due dates for this class. None of the exams, including the final, can be taken early or late. Except for that option to have evening times if you wish. If you do miss a test, I'll replace that exam score with whatever you earn on the final exam. If you miss the final, then there's no recourse there. Only one exam score can be replaced. A second missed exam will count as a 0. So make sure that you don't miss more than one exam if possible. Okay, make sure to keep track of due dates. Okay, your grade is determined by a weighted average of your coursework according to the percentages listed above. You need a 90 for an A, 80 for a B, and so on, as is customary. There's COD doesn't do plus minus grading, so it's just A's, B's, C's, D's, and F's. There's no extra credit in the course. Try to do as well as you can from the beginning. There's no credit for basically non-academic reasons. Homework is done using MyMathLab, as we've said. Make sure to check my math lab regularly so you don't miss due dates. Typically, I'll post work 1 or 2 times a week, depending on what chapter we're in and how fast it's going. And you'll typically have at least 3 days to work on things. Often longer, but I'll keep it at the minimum 3 days. So make sure that you're logging into my math lab and looking for work at least a couple of times a week. You're going to need a scientific calculator, or you'll want one. If you want to know whether a particular calculator is helpful or useful for the course, just ask. Some people like to do this course using just a basic calculator or scientific calculator. Some people like to do Excel or other spreadsheet software. Google Sheets maybe can be used for this. Other people like to use the statistical software built into my math lab called StatCrunch. But if you want to use a calculator, you're welcome to do so. If you want to know whether a particular calculator is good, let me know. Student learning outcomes, read through that. That's supposed to be a kind of plain English version of what our course covers. Again, read through that. Let me know if you have any questions. Attendance doesn't count towards or against your grade. It's actually contrary to California's Ed Code to have attendance count in grading, in spite of what you may be told. So attendance doesn't count for or against. By attendance in our course, since we're online, we're not sitting in chairs anywhere together. Attendance means basically logging into Canvas, watching the videos, reading the notes, logging into my math lab, doing homework, and so forth. People who do those things tend to do better and get a higher grade. You may drop from the class if you don't do work in my math lab for 4 or more consecutive days. Sometimes with an online class, people tend to put it on the back burner for their work or family or other courses and just kind of forget about it. And if that happens, then you end up with this course that you forgot about, and you end up getting a bad grade in it, and that's no fun. And so when I determine that people are not participating anymore, like, okay, so-and-so hasn't logged in since, October, and it's December now, so he or she is probably not coming back, and so I'll drop that person. On the other hand, if you have some sort of thing that is going to make it where you can't do the work for the course for a time, then let me know. Our class is designed with some flexibility, so if you have a new job that has a training, or maybe you have a vacation or something, typically you're able to get the work done anyways due to the time flexibility that we have. That said, if there's something that's come up that is precluding your ability to get the work done, then let me know. Thing is, if people disappear, I don't like to see them get a bad grade just because they kind of quit the class. Aside from the student code of conduct, there's really only one rule. We want to be honest and civil and courteous to one another. If you do post things to the discussion boards, be polite and use work or academic school appropriate language. If several people are attending my office hours, we're going to take turns. Okay, so that's pretty easy. Students with disabilities, read through the paragraph, let me know if that applies to you, and also check in with DSPS as soon as possible. Don't cheat in the class. As I'd mentioned, there's no extra credit in the course. Do your best the first time. It's hard to catch up in most classes when you're behind. Math especially tends to be cumulative. For our course, there's a couple of places where, like if you miss chapter 1, you're going to have a hard time. If you miss chapter 2, you might have less of a hard time. Chapter 3, if you miss chapter 3, you'd have a really hard time. If you miss chapter 6, you're not really going to understand the rest of the course. So if you do miss things, try to get caught up on that. But once you are kind of behind it, it can be really hard to catch up. Almost done. Okay. Some general advice. A lot of people find math and statistics challenging. Statistics has kind of a lot of vocabulary. If your experience with math has just been kind of algebra classes in like middle school and high school, and statistics will have a different sort of feel. But there's a lot of word problems. A lot of times people don't enjoy that. But here's some advice to help make this all a little easier to do. Good idea to work on statistics every day. This class, like I said, does have a lot of flexibility. It's better for you to spread out the work. I know our lives are complicated and it's not always possible, but it's better for you to do, like, if you're going to do 8 hours of statistics in a week, you're better off doing 8 hours on spread out, like 2 hours Monday, 2 hours Tuesday, take Wednesday off, then Thursday and Friday get 2 hours each, instead of doing like 8 hours Saturday morning, right? For two reasons. One, it's just harder to learn if you do something in a humongous block of time. You're not going to remember things as well. The other thing, or second thing, is that if you learn something with repetitions and breaks in between, you learn it better than learning it kind of in one long attempt. The third thing is it's just really also demoralizing. If you think, oh, okay, I have to spend my whole Saturday working on statistics, then it's going to be unpleasant and you're not going to want to do it in all likelihood. So you're better off, if you can, to try to spread out your work. It's also less intimidating. You know, wake up Saturday and you've got 4 sections of homework to do. You don't want to do that. Try to maintain a positive attitude, regardless of how you may feel about the material. Completing the course gets you further to your goals, whatever they are. I teach the course planning on you reading the book, so make sure that you're reading the book and watching the lectures. If you just kind of log into my math lab and attempt the work without doing any of the videos or reading the book, it's going to be a lot harder. A lot of times math books can be hard to read, but at the very least, if you look through and read the kind of color highlighted tables and the formulas and things, that's going to give you an idea of what's going on. Okay. To be successful in math and in statistics requires practice. Only you know how much you need. Different people will require different amounts of practice. Different parts of the book will require different amounts of practice too. All right, so that takes us to the end of the syllabus. Let me know if you have any questions on that, or if you have any questions on my math lab. So we just finished with this introduction start here video. What steps you want to take next are to watch the introduction to my math lab video. Keep in mind that, again, the course ID mentioned in the video is wrong, and so you want to use the course ID shown here. Try to get your My Math Lab account created, and we will go from there. From there, the first batch of real content will be in chapters 1 through 3. With COD's change from web advisor to self-service, it's become more complicated and difficult for people who want to add the class to actually get into it. So we're not going to have things due probably at all this first week, because it takes time to get that My Math Lab account created and for all the people who want to add to be able to actually get into the class. So I'll start having things available to work on, but we won't have hard due dates here this first week. Let me know if you have any questions, either by email, probably best by email. And then welcome to the class and have a great day.